All right, hello and welcome to the second live Q&A of 2021. I'm Patrick from the community team. You can find me on the forum at Patrick-Rev. If you're joining us on the forum, you can find Beth from the community team hanging out there with y'all today. You can tag her at Beth-Rev. We have a lot of fun topics to cover and 4 speakers today: Jason Chicola, Rev CEO, Aaron Fox, VP of Operations, and 2 product leads, Jenny Chen and Robin Yao. Towards the end of the Q&A, we'll be taking questions you submitted via Slido. We appreciate you submitting your questions, and we have quite a few of them. So we're going to try to get through all of them before our time is up. With that being said, let's get started. Now, unfortunately, if you tuned into the last one, Jason was not able to make it, and he recorded a message for us. But this time he is with us. So I'm going to go ahead and prove that to you and introduce Jason. Why don't you unmute, Jason, and start us off?
Hey, Patrick, thanks so much for the warm welcome. Thanks to everybody that's joining us now or watching on the replay. These sessions we do are really for you guys. We hope to give you guys information that might be relevant to you to learn more about Rev and where we're going. We certainly want to answer all your questions, and we try to every time expose you to a couple different leaders at Rev so that you can see parts of our team that are working on things that are relevant to you guys. I have a few things to share today, but I like to always start off with giving a little bit of information to Revvers that is about other parts of the business. I mean, if I really simplify our company, we have a two-sided business in that we have customers and we have Revvers. And you guys are Revvers and you know a lot about that side of the business. The customer side of the business matters just as much. And what's happening on the customer side will have downstream effects on, for you guys. And I think the biggest trend there is that we are selling more and more to large companies, and we're trying to get better at selling large companies because large companies have a lot of video and audio needs that creates work for all of you. And so a lot of the employees at Rev are focused on making our products what I'll call enterprise friendly, and we believe over time that'll result in more work for all of you. And I think that if I kind of unpack that, what are the changes that we're making that with the customers that I think could impact Revvers? One significant one that Jenny will talk about today is we're investing in higher quality services. Like we have a premium captions offering where we've seen a lot of demand for that. As you can imagine, some large customers want things to be perfect. If they want their brand, big companies in general are willing to pay more for accuracy than a small company. And so as we serve more large companies, I would expect that we would get more demand for premium services. People often ask me, when are you going to do premium transcription? It's not in the works today because we're working on getting premium captions right. But big picture, as we serve more large companies, it's a safe bet that we will be building more premium service tiers where we charge the customer more and pay the Revvers more and expect higher quality with a different sort of escalating standard. I think that's a definite. Another area that we're working on is no announcements yet, but we're working on expanding our global footprint to serve people in more languages. So that's a priority for us. And I have nothing to announce there today. I can just tell you that we're moving that direction, and you'll hear about that in the coming months and quarters. I think that the part of how I think about it is that as we serve larger companies, we are getting customers that are very likely to be sticky over many years. And I know some of you, for example, really like to use favorites for your best customer. That favorites feature, I think, is good. It could be a lot better. But we're trying to build long-term relationships with our customers, just as we hope to build long-term relationships with all of you. And it would be my hope that 1-2 years from now, I would like Revvers to have more options for the kinds of work, so you can do captions or transcription, but at the regular level or the premium level. And I would hope that we give you guys more ability to, for example, find the jobs you like, whether it's because we're recommending the right jobs to you, or it's because we help you to keep tabs on and keep track of your favorite customers to do their work. So that's a preview of where we're headed, and you'll hear more about that in the quarters to come. Let's go ahead and turn to our next slide. as we kind of, I'm right now sitting in the Rev office. For a while, our offices were closed. They're now reopened. We have a flexible policy, and that no one's required to come to the office, but more and more people are coming to the office because we find that not only is work more fun when we're together, that I think we can be more creative and do better work when we have people from different teams connecting and listening to each other. I think we can learn our customers' needs better and solve their problems, in a deeper way. So we've been um, we've been doing a lot of work to refine and tighten our own view of who we are, where we're going. And so I have on this slide some of that new direction. So the left side of this chart is something you guys seen a million times. The wording has changed, but our mission, why I and a few other my co-founders started the company, was because we want to create opportunity for people, because we want to create um, you know the new language, great work anywhere jobs powered by AI. And that's really half the story. I mentioned earlier that we have two audiences. We have Revvers and customers. If if we only cared about one audience, we wouldn't be here today. If we stopped caring about the customer, that'd be a big problem. And as we move to the next chapter in our journey, we thought it was important to articulate what's the big problem we're going to solve for our customers in the world. And that's what you see on the right hand side of the chart, our vision, our impact in the world. We want to unlock the full potential of speech for everyone everywhere. That's a big statement. I mean, let me unpack. What does that mean? What is speech? Well, that's how we communicate, right? But it's voice, it's video, it's audio. And we think we're just at the beginning of helping companies uh, figure out what they can do with the video and audio data that they use. Certainly, you guys know the services that we offer today, notably captioning, transcription, and subtitles. We intend to offer more services to help companies uh, make effective use of speech data, whether that's in how they publish videos or how they analyze and understand audio that they have, for example, about what are the customers telling them. So um, as we you're going to hear a lot more about other services that we provide to customers over time. Um, but the basic idea is that as we go deeper in helping understand speech needs, that's going to um, that's going to bring in more work from our customers. That should hopefully mean more work for each and every one of you. And then finally, last thing I want to share is our new Rev values. I'm happy we have a new values T-shirt. Serve, own, and I've heard some here grow are the three values. Um, serve is the first and most important value. It means to serve others. We want to make life better for the people we serve. We serve each and every one of you. We serve Revvers, period. We also serve customers, and many of us here serve our fellow employees. And I believe that if we can get better at doing that, if we can listen more effectively, if we can really hear what people are saying, then we'll do a better job solving the problems of the community. The reason we have these calls is the back half where we have the Slido questions. That's our chance to listen. That's your chance to hold our feet to the fire. So these kinds of meetings are part of how we serve uh, our Revver audience. We're doing similar stuff on the customer side to get better and deeper at how we learn, um, how we serve them. My belief is that um, people are motivated for different reasons. Most people want to feel a sense of purpose. I believe that most people find contentment from helping other human beings, and I'm trying to restructure parts of the company to make sure that everyone in the company knows who they serve and how and why. Honestly, the folks on this team, the folks from Rev on this team, like for example, Robin, who spearheads our Revver effort, I think do a beautiful job of this, and we're trying to bring more of that depth to the customer side of the business. I mean, the fact that we're here today, the fact that we're talking, the fact that we had a Revver event in Austin last week. Thank you for those that attended it. We are doing a lot more today to listen and understand Revver needs than we did say 2 years ago, but I expect we'll do more in the years to come. So serve to me, it's the alpha and the omega. It's the big value. If we serve our users well, we win. How do we do that? Well, we have to take ownership over solving problems. If we decide, I mean, for example, that if we ever say that, for example, the editor doesn't work on big files, we have to own, we have to promise to make the editor work on long files, and we have to deliver on that. So we're working on ownership culture, which means taking accountability for our actions and delivering results. And then grow is a personal growth. That we believe that everybody's in a journey to become a better version of themselves, and we want to make sure that every employee at Rev has a plan to get better at job skills that are relevant to their job. So those are our company values. And I often tell people at Rev that I'm leery. I don't ever want to sound like Michael Scott from Dunder Mifflin and parrot values that people don't believe in, that seem hokey and bogus. So we're trying to make these the way we live, and we're trying to create behaviors and habits and routines that reinforce these behaviors so that we do a good job and live up to them. And like I said, I believe, I would argue that just doing this call, if we do a good job listening, we are trying to this is contributing to how we serve the Revvers. We'll do more of this across our organization. So it's a little bit about us. Thank you for bearing with me. I'm going to pass the baton over. I believe Aaron comes next, and he'll tell you about what's going on in the world of operations.
Thanks, Jason. Really appreciate it. Hey, everybody. I want to just do a little follow-up from our last Q&A, as well as touch on a few other things going on. So one of the things that we talked about in the last Q&A was the Help Center. There were some comments that things are missing or unclear. So I said, hey, just let us know. We'll put something up in the forum and tell us what could be better. And just to recap, 23 suggestions, 7 articles published, 4 in process, and I'll talk a little about those and where we're headed. First, I think this is a terrific dialogue. I want to continue it. I want to improve it. And so one thing we're going to do is take that original post and just put an index of all the suggestions we've gotten on that thread so that everyone here knows what's been suggested. We'll share links to the articles we updated based on suggestions. And for the ones where we've decided not to do something, we'll explain why. I think that's exactly the dialogue that I hope to have. I think it's healthy. And I want to thank everyone who's contributed suggestions. I want to touch on 3 different articles, one that we did, one that we didn't do, and one we're thinking about, just for a little context. First one that we did, you guys said foreign language and speaker labels need some clarification. Totally right. It's an obvious point of confusion because foreign language is both an atmospheric and a new speaker. The labeling rules conflict. And so what we've said, so that there's official guidance, is that either is acceptable as long as it's consistent. I think that's just such a great example of where it's very obvious to you as a Revver doing the work that there's a gap here, but maybe wasn't something that stood out as much to us. So thank you, love it. I'm talking about one that we're not doing, which was suggested, which was signing in twice for the Help Center. Of course, once on your Rev account, and then once on Zendesk. Zendesk is our Help Center system. I'm sure you've seen that in the emails if you've been in touch with support. And it is a separate system. All the content for customers and Revvers is behind one instance of Zendesk, and we hide the Revver content behind the login. Why do we do that? In general, it's because I think Revvers are more sophisticated users of the Rev product than customers are. And it's probably easier for you all to log in. I don't want to confuse customers who may not have that familiarity of Revver facing content, because we kind of can imagine a customer that buys a lot is probably knows what's going on, but maybe their manager at work really doesn't, and they're in the Help Center for some other reason. So I think it's an overall balance of user experience here. And I think we'll probably just leave it how we have it for now. And then I want to share one where it's such a great point, and we're still trying to figure out exactly what to do. You've highlighted that the number and math conventions aren't working perfectly in every scenario. Specifically, parentheses. Parentheses are for atmospherics. In the post-processing, we'll remove them. That can be a major challenge when there's math lectures, for example. And you have a function like f of x does what? The way that you'd want to send that back to the customer is with the parenthesis. And so you're pushing us to really figure out what the right solution is here that that's going to work for our customers and for you. We're trying to figure it out. So thanks for pushing, and I'm glad it's just on the table so that it's forcing us to address in one way or another. Appreciate it. Yeah, and please keep sending ideas in. Patrick will be updating the thread. Let's go touch on a couple other things. If you're a grader in captions, you saw the pay increase earlier this week. The intent here is to address what we see as not enough. By the way, if you want to be a grader, please reach out, aaron.fox@rev.com. We almost always need more. You'll notice if you kind of look at this table in detail that we're paying a little bit more percentage-wise on the short clip files because we know that those tend to over-index on rookies and less of an increase on the longer ones, which we expect to be better quality, more Revver and Revver Plus. But always excited when there's increases in pay. Two other things I want to touch on. The no grade pilot has been expanded to everyone in Pro for captions. So we'll continue to monitor that, but really excited about the data we see there. I'm hopeful we can find other ways to expand no grading. No concrete plans for that right now, I'll be super clear, but I do think that's something I'd love to expand over time. Also want to say thanks for flagging the holiday coverage in the forums. Community team, I think, has that in a much better spot than it was before. So let us know if you see gaps there, but hopefully that's working a little bit better for everybody. And I also want to say thanks for just continuing to push on the communication process for changes and updates. I think you're hopefully seeing more usage of Beamer, better updates on Revver-facing content. And I think where we're going to focus next is some of our customer-facing content still maybe gets through without updating you like we'd like to. So that's definitely an opportunity for us, and we'll keep working there. And on that product-related note, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Robin now.
Hey everyone, this is Robin, and I'm here to give a couple of updates on some of the features that we've released or are working on over the past 3 months or so. I'm going to be talking through 3 main updates. So the first is the line upgrade. So I'm sensing this starting to become more obvious in the forum now, but we were trying to keep it hush-hush for a while. But basically over the past year and a half, we've been gutting and rebuilding the technology that supports our line editor. And the reason we did that is because we noticed that there were a lot of issues that Revvers were having with working on longer files. And so we had to cap files at 40 minutes, which really limits your productivity on those really long, 2-hour files. And we didn't like that we had to do that. The second is that we noticed that some people were reporting that saving was either taking a long time or wasn't extremely reliable. And that's terrible. We want you to be able to trust the tools that you use. And so that's why we ended up making this big investment. And over the past few months, we've been slowly, very deliberately rolling it out to small numbers of Revvers at a time. And so right now, there's only a couple of hundreds of Revvers able to use this line upgrade up to files up to 90 minutes. So over the next month or two, we're planning to really increase the rate at which we're releasing this line upgrade to more people. And our process is, as soon as we become confident that all the bugs from the previous phase of releases are fixed, then we will think about releasing it to more people to make sure we're just controlling the negative impact of some of these bugs on the overall population and your productivity. So yeah, we'll be doing that over the next few months. And then I want to say that later, once the line upgrade has been released to everyone, we'll work on some of the more meaty product improvements, such as allowing you to type from scratch in the line editor without really confusing timestamps. I know that right now, if you try to delete everything and type from scratch, some of the functions don't work, right? Read along doesn't work, or it's really hard to navigate around because there's no timestamps associated with any of the words. So we'll definitely be working on that, as well as building in support for foot pedal. We know that this is a huge productivity tool for a lot of Revvers, so we'll be making sure that that's supported as well. The second thing I wanted to update people on is the Minute Multiplier program. So we released this program to help Revvers get more minutes towards their metrics, especially, if you're super close, you maybe don't have time to do 2 files, you can do one that gives you twice the number of minutes and then just hit that plus threshold. We wanted to build this to make it easier for you to stay in plus, even if, things come up in life. So we actually went through a couple of pilots of this program, all of which had like different populations. And the next phase of the pilot, which will actually be released either end of this week or next week, and we will send an email notifying the entire Revver population of this, is that we're going to give the Minute Multiplier program to all pluses who drop from plus due to volume reasons. And so pretty much how you can see this is if you're in plus right now, or if you've been in plus and you dropped because you couldn't hit the volume, you're going to have access to this program and you're going to be able to get the volume so that you can remake plus. And for the people who are currently in plus, you know, we noticed that some people didn't like seeing the volume multiplier or the minute multiplier because it was like a confusing thing on Find Work that you'll just have to look at, sometimes annoying. So we kind of wanted to try this iteration of it to see if it works better. Over this next pilot, we're just going to collect a lot of data, figure out how people are using or interacting with this program. And then in the long run, we'll figure out like a long-term solution that works best for everyone. Cool. And then the last update I wanted to give is that over the past 3 months, we've been revamping the new Revver experience. And so this is completely new. I don't think I talked about this last time during the Q&A, but I'm really excited that we've been doing this because we noticed that a lot of Revvers in the community have said that, you know, a lot of the incoming newer Revvers are just like really not prepared to do the work. It shows up in their quality and the types of questions that they ask, and we totally agree. And so we, the first thing we did actually was to work on the sign up and application process to make sure that some of our questions that we ask people and the way that we're determining who to accept or reject is just a little bit more rigorous, a little bit harder to cheat on, and sets better expectation for what it's like to actually work at Rev. And then now that we've, you know, built out those pages and we're starting to slowly release it to people, we will think about how to release or how to improve the onboarding experience for people who are accepted. So think like after you register for your account, how are we going to teach these newer Revvers the skills that they need to know to be really successful on the platform? So stay tuned for some of those changes. But yeah, so right now we're thinking through that experience. Later on, we'll be building those out, and then we'll definitely let everyone know how things have changed. But in the meantime, I wanted to show a couple of screenshots of the changes that we have made to the sign up and application process. So the first change is that at the very beginning of the application, we added in this Q&A page of like very common questions that we get from especially newer users, like, do I have to buy equipment? How will I get paid? We also added in this earnings calculator that shows kind of like how much you can make at every single stage. And we're hoping that this sets good expectations for these newer users coming in. And on the next slide, here you can see a new format for some of our questions that we're gonna use to evaluate these newer applicants. So the first is this grammar page. It's going to show you like one question at a time, and you just have to read it and figure out if it's correct or incorrect. And we feel like that's a better reflection of the skills that you need to have in order to interact with, for example, a draft where the text is already there and you just have to figure out if it's the right thing or if it's grammatically weird. The second thing we added in was a listening section. So this is where the applicant would need to listen to a very short 10-second clip and transcribe it. And we felt like this was also a great test of a very relevant skill of what it takes to be a Revver, which is like, can you hear a thing? Can you decipher it? And then can you write it down accurately? So super excited at these pages and seeing if these will impact the quality of Revvers that we accept onto the platform. Cool. Now I'll pass it on to Jenny, who will talk about some of the customer-facing updates that affect Revvers as well.
Thanks, Robin. Hi, everyone. My name is Jenny. I'm actually new to this Q&A format, so I'm super excited to be here. For those of you who don't know me, I am a product lead for our marketplace team. So we're responsible for managing and balancing the needs of our Revvers, customers, and Rev as a business. So in terms of customer-facing updates, I'll touch on 3. 1 is kind of unblocking Revvers from customers. 2 is our customer privacy settings. And then 3, I'll briefly mention premium captions. So first on unblocking Revvers from customers, what we did is we unblocked all Revvers who were previously blocked from customer work due to low customer ratings. And the reason why we did this is when we kind of reflected on the policy that we had to date, we realized that it wasn't very fair, especially to Revvers that were kind of newer to the platform or even more experienced Revvers who maybe had like one bad day. So didn't necessarily produce high quality work on like a one-off basis. So for that reason, we decided to kind of take things into our own hands and really kind of take action to unblock these Revvers to give you all kind of a clean slate, and also access to more jobs that you previously didn't have access to. Moving forward, we'll be able to kind of think through and implement a much fairer system. So we're overall kind of super excited about this change. And I've noticed from the forums that, feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. So definitely excited about that. Second change I'll talk to is this customer privacy settings. So what we did was that we allowed customers to actually change how their name appears in Find Work. So depending on their own kind of preferences, you as a Revver might see things like their first name and last initial, just their company name, or kind of no changes to their names at all. As a reminder, this doesn't actually change who your favorite customers are, but obviously may change the way their names actually appear in Find Work. And in terms of why we did this because we want to, at the end of the day, create a more secure and private platform for both our Revvers and customers. That being said, we do acknowledge that it has kind of made some external research more difficult. So we are definitely investigating ways to kind of, one, make sure Revvers aren't being penalized for these research issues, and then two, really better set expectations with customers on quality if they are to use this toggle. So if you do have any feedback, you can message me at jennychen@revver.com to share any thoughts there. And then finally, as Jason mentioned, we are working on a kind of premium captions, kind of higher quality offering for our customers. This is something I'm super excited about because I think it has positive benefits for all the three users that we as a marketplace team care about. So Revvers, customers, and Rev. We believe it benefits Revvers because it unlocks opportunity to offer the certain Revvers kind of higher paying jobs. Two, on the customer side, it kind of unlocks more value for customers and delivers kind of higher quality work for them. So we can develop a longer term partnership for us and Rev. And then finally, for Rev as a business, we can make sure we're able to kind of create a awesome kind of revenue stream that will allow us to kind of pay Revvers more and create a longer term working relationship with Revvers and customers. So as I mentioned, kind of premium captions is something we've been working on for the last few months. We're excited because it's something that we've had 10 paying customers for so far, and we expect that number to grow. And then on the Revver side, what this means is that we kind of have two main focuses over the next few months. One is on helping more Revvers understand, like, what does it actually take to reach this pro level, to get access to these types of jobs, what is actually expected of them at this level, and how can they make sure they're doing a good job. And then on the second front is really helping Revvers with like tooling to actually produce kind of high quality work consistently. So these are kind of changes we're actively thinking about, and I expect more communications will be kind of coming down the pipeline soon.
All right. Thank you, Jenny. And I'd like to thank all of our speakers today for their presentations. We're going to set up our Slido here and take your questions. So we're going to really give them an encore performance because the same people are going to be answering the questions you submitted. We're going to try to get through them all. We'll see what happens. All right. I see the first one popping up now. Let's go for it.
Great. So the question here is, can experienced Revvers and plus maybe have some grading accident forgiveness points like with diamond level car insurance? This is a great question and something we've been investigating for our highest tier Revvers, our pro level, because at the end of the day, we want to reward our top Revvers for delivering great work consistently and also reduce the fear that we recognize that some of you may have around claiming difficult jobs because of the outsized kind of negative impact that it may have on metrics. Recently, we actually did roll out this kind of no grading pilot for pro Revvers, and we really saw great results and got great feedback both from Revvers and customers. So in terms of next steps, we're trying to figure out what is the right long-term grading policy, both for the pro level and for other levels across a Revver pool, and trying to figure out if it makes sense to kind of expand that pilot to other levels.
The next question is, can a notes section be added to the editors, both CP and TC sides, to help us better keep track of our own research? I really love the suggestion, and I think this is, something that we can definitely think about doing. Right now, it is a little bit lower priority for us, and especially on the TC side, we want to make sure we're more stabilized in terms of like which editors are, primary on the marketplace before we build out a new tool. But yeah, like for sure, we'll be thinking about building this just in a longer time horizon.
All right, there's one here. Will you please reconsider the change to the deadline structure in subtitles? It has a huge impact on our working conditions and work-life balance for many of us. Let me explain like what happened, what we did, talk about the approach, and then answer the question. So in subtitles, we changed the deadlines to be anywhere from like 20 to 30% faster. So that's what we did. How do we think about this? We looked at how long it was taking most Revvers to complete work, and then kind of adjusted from there. So I'll give a specific example. On a 30-minute file, the old deadline was 30 hours. And the data said most 80% of Revvers finish in 6 hours. So well, we said, okay, well, we can probably be faster than 30. I'd love to, if I could promise 6 hours to customers, that's an absolute win. We change it to 15 hours. And I think that cuts off, just that last few percentage that might trickle in over time when emergencies happen. So that's how we thought about it. We looked at what, 80% of people were doing and then added a whole bunch of time to that. I feel like that's a pretty reasonable compromise for customers and Revvers, as Jason alluded to, that sort of two sides of the business. Will we reconsider changes? Well, what we're going to do is watch and see what happens. And if we see us, missing promises to customers because the work deadlines are just too short, then we'll definitely reconsider. If we see that, people are getting things done in 6 hours and we're telling customers 15, I mean, I'd love to tell customers 10. So we'll see. The goal is to give plenty of time, but not be unreasonable. That's how we're looking at it. That's it. This one's for me too, I think. Are there any plans to include a more detailed style guide, including questions and answers from the forum, or alternatively, more updated official support pages? Let me tell you how we think about this overall. My dream for the style guide would be that it's just simple, less is more, and there's general principles. So the style guide is something that new Revvers can review, look at, and kind of be ready to go, not overwhelmed with all the examples that I think are more appropriate for Help Center articles. A lot of the forum content ends up being project specific, but I love what we're doing with the Help Center, sourcing that feedback from y'all, getting things in there that come up that we haven't anticipated. So we'll keep doing that. I think my goal for sure for the style guides is to keep them as simple as we can possibly make them.
The next question is, has there been any thought of adding back the audio filters like background noise cancellation? That was really helpful. Browser equalization isn't enough. I totally agree. I think this is one of the things that we know is like super important for being able to do a job. Right now, what's really blocking us from doing this is that we've been rebuilding Line, and we didn't want to build a feature that we would then have to like rebuild in this new version of Line. And so once the rollout becomes a little bit more stable, we will absolutely look into adding this as one of our earlier priorities.
Jason, it looks like you have the next one there.
Yeah, so great question. As I mentioned earlier, as we serve larger companies, they have global language needs. And so we absolutely are. So for example, we're currently doing some work on the sales side to get closer to customers in Europe. And we have some other things planned that I can't yet announce, but what I can tell you is that it's a top level priority for all the leadership at Rev to grow our capabilities so we can offer global languages to global customers. And it's one of those things that if you have other language skills, it'll be very helpful. Even if you just work in English, it'll still be helpful because big companies want us to help them. Big companies want us to be a one-stop shop. They don't want to have 5 vendors, they want to have one vendor. So we're gonna be making a lot of investments, both in the sales side and the operation side, in getting more languages and customers in more countries, and you'll be seeing more on that over the next 6 months.
Will drafts become available for verbatim files? The answer to that, unfortunately, is right now there are no plans from our end to have verbatim files start with a draft. And there's a lot of reasons I won't get into, but maybe in the future, once those reasons go away, we can consider giving this. So thank you for suggesting this. We'll know that this is something that Revvers want.
Any ideas on when the next caption style guide will be coming out? So it was updated in summer 2020. So likely, summer 2022 at the soonest. I think TC would be due for an update first. Likely sometime, hopefully early next year for TC.
The next question is, will there be a way for Revvers to go back in and fix a recently submitted transcript if they notice an error they made as they press the submit button? I think I've heard this one before. So yeah, thanks for asking. I think this is theoretically doable, but with our current workflow, it's a little bit complicated. And to implement this means that we would have to like undo a lot of things. And so I would say that the cost of implementing what seems like a pretty easy fix is actually really high. And on the other end, I feel like this could be pretty easily accomplished through just maybe like double checking work more carefully, or maybe taking a moment to pause before submitting. So would really encourage everyone to do that instead. And if you're running short on deadlines, there's also the more time button that you can use if needed. When will Frost expand to more individuals or to all? Very soon is the answer. We're really wanting to do this like as soon as possible. But again, we don't want to do it at sacrifice of quality. We want to make sure everyone who is onboarded onto this line upgrade is going to be able to use it very confidently. And so, yeah, as we expand to more people, just look out for an email in your inbox that will ask you if you want to opt in. And we're hoping that it will be expanded to every single person, fingers crossed, by the end of the year. But that will depend on how quickly we can fix the bugs that we find. Well, the next question is, I would like to know what plans there are, if any, for the old editor TCE. Nothing ever seems to be done to update it. Do you plan on discontinuing it? So in the very distant future, yes, we will be planning to discontinue TCE. It's a pretty old technology and it's starting to get very outdated. I know it doesn't show yet, maybe on the user side, but it also has the added con of not being able to support things like timestamps, which we feel like is a huge productivity tool for Revvers, because you're able to, like find exactly where you are in the audio or in the text through each other. And so, yeah, in the very distant future, we will be removing TCE. But before that, I promise that we will build all feature parity. Like we will make sure that all features that exist in the TC editor are going to exist in line. So those are things that I mentioned earlier, like being able to type from scratch or being able to use the foot pedal. And also, thanks for the reminder, the audio quality, the toggles to remove background noise. Those are all things that we will make sure we build before TCE goes away. And we will also give ample warning. So this should never come as a surprise to any of you. Is Rev thinking about working on an auto sync feature on the CP side? Yeah, this is a cool question, because actually we looked into doing this sometime last year while we were focused on improvements for captions. And we ran a couple of tests where we did give a couple of test Revvers the ability to work on a captions file that was already auto-synced. Unfortunately, the results from that test was that it wasn't a win all around. In fact, people took a lot longer to work on the file if it was auto-synced, just because we don't currently support the movement of like synced captions just very well. So what this means is, I think in the long run, we can definitely think about doing this, but there's a lot of things that we need to build in the meantime to make sure that that's a good experience for everyone. The next question is there any updates on the Minute Multiplier pilot program that you'd like to share? And I think I addressed this earlier, so I don't have anything else to add. Hopefully that was enough. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to our community team on the forum, and they'll definitely be able to get back to you, or they can ask me if they're not super aware either.
This question is, will Rev ever consider doing audio descriptions for the blind? I love this question. You may have started to see some of the accessibility changes to the website coming to life. So it's definitely an area where we're interested. That said, this is outside of the core, but in line with accessibility goals. So let me circle back with an update on the forum. Terrific question.
Actually, Aaron, let me jump in here.
Sure.
I mean, look, what Aaron said is right. That, I mean, just to be clear, no one at Rev is working on this today. Okay, so it's not happening anytime soon. That's the reality. But customers ask for it, right? It's a fact that if you go right now on Netflix and you pull up your favorite Netflix production, like the good ones, they will have captions, subtitles, and audio description, period. So customers want it. For those that don't know, the analogy is closed captionings are for the hard of hearing, what audio description are for vision impaired, right? So to be accessible, it's a good thing to have. It is a more expensive service. It involves having a human do a voiceover. It's so you'd only do it for probably the best content. Will we do it eventually? I say probably. Customers want it. Not currently working on it, but it would make sense. It would absolutely fall within. I mean, it would actually fall within both sides of our business. While it's not a typing related job, you know, our mission to create great work anywhere jobs would check that box, and it would certainly help our customers to take their speech data to a larger audience. So it would absolutely fit with our vision and mission. And it's just not something we're working on right now.
Well, the next question is, can you make it possible to practice captioning a video without accepting an assignment with a deadline in order to do so? Yeah, this is a great question. You can actually currently do this in a limited capacity on the captioning side through just going to our sandbox. And our sandbox is a place where you can go into the editor and just like play around, and there's absolutely no, like, it won't submit anything. It's not a real job. It's just for you to figure out how like best to do something or do things like add text expanders while outside of a job. So would recommend doing that. Zooming outside of that though, I agree there's an opportunity to add more practice type content within our platform, especially as we're thinking about focusing on the newer Revver experience. This would really help them kind of get their practices out of the way before they approach a real customer file or a file that they might get graded on. So great suggestion, and we'll definitely be looking into doing this.
All right. Well, it looks like we've run out of time. We did plow through plenty of questions. I'd like to thank our speakers for their presentations today. And I've been watching the forum thread, and there's tons of activity there. So that's awesome. We appreciate you interacting with us there. I'd also like to thank Beth for being in the thread and answering your questions. She's on top of it. But we appreciate you joining us today. Wherever you are, have a good morning, good afternoon, or a good evening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks a lot, y'all.